Alright, so today we're going to be putting mufflers on the race car. Yes, it sounds crazy, but I have a good reason behind it. See, what I've done with this car last year when I put the 6.2 in it, I put a set of C6 LG Motorsports headers on it, and they fit just fine. I have the C6 X pipe, which it all looks very similar to the C5 anyway, just where the tips are, or where the mufflers hook up. The C5 has flanges, and the C6 is the slip fit connection. So what I'm actually gonna do, the car sounds very good, but there's a sound I'm looking for. Like, I don't wanna be like every other Corvette out on track. And one thing with this is most people just run straight exhaust, or they have, you know, Borla exhaust, which I really hate. I had Corsa on this thing before, but when I put the 6.2 in, like I said, the C6 headers and stuff, the mufflers wouldn't fit anymore. And I've been wanting to get back on another set of mufflers, but what I actually found was a set of Z06 C6 mufflers. And a lot of people do what they call a muffler mod, where they go inside and cover up the perforated pipe with another piece of exhaust, which I'll show you that here shortly. And it sounds absolutely amazing. I was gonna put a set of Corsa exhaust from a C6 on this, but I couldn't find none used, and it was hard to justify spending $2,800 on a set of mufflers just to chase a sound. And then I don't even know if it fits. I don't even know if the C6 stuff's gonna fit, but for $200, it's worth chopping up and try to make it work. So let's jump in and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. So these are the Z06 mufflers, and a lot of C6s have the exhaust with the flaps on them. I wasn't particularly looking for the flaps, but it will be nice to be able to hook vacuum to these, have a switch to where, you know, if it's late at night or something, I need to move the car around, I can make it very quiet, almost stock sounding. And yeah, it'd be pretty decent to have that. A lot of the C6s come with these mufflers, but the pipe is what I was chasing. You know, I have a full 3-inch on my car. A lot of the NPP mufflers that come on C6 vets with the valves, that's a 2.5-inch pipe. The Z06 cars come with 3-inch pipe. So inside of here, you can see the spot welds. In the center chamber, the perforated pipe that connects to the tip here, it gets covered up. So basically, I'm gonna take a band clamp, 3-inch band clamp, and clamp around the pipe. And pretty much it makes it a straight pipe, but it still has 2 chambers that it has to go through. And it's just a sound it makes. I mean, whoever decided to chop one of these open and make a muffler mod, I appreciate it, because the sound I'm looking for it's almost like having Corsa without Corsa money. So you can see what I have now. This is fake. It's like I tell people this is my Bluetooth exhaust. One thing I will miss is the fact that the inside of my tips, they never get black and sooty because there's nothing going through them. I just kind of whipped me up some brackets and put me some tips off Amazon, because the Corvette, just the twin exhaust, quad exhaust, just looks, it makes the car. So I was like, man, I've done one track day without tips, and it looked stupid. I didn't like it. So I decided to give me some brackets made from Sin Cut Sin, and I just welded them straight to it and bent me up some solid rod. But that's my current exhaust. And another thing for me changing this is, you can see my gas tank's right there. And we had an event a few weeks ago. T-Pain threw an event, and it was in Georgia. We went down, and a few of the clips I seen of me night drifting, I seen some pretty big fireballs under this thing. And I'm like, man, if I ever had a small fuel leak, this thing would go up in flames. So I'm like, I'm chasing that sound. It's a safety issue having my exhaust like this. It's time to change it. But you can see this is the LG Motorsports setup. Headers fit pretty decent. Well, not decent, they fit really good. The only thing was, they were pretty tight to the frame there, but they don't touch. So let's get these mufflers cut open. So this is what's inside of a Z06 Corvette muffler. So you got a net full of fiberglass here that we pull out. A lot of people put it back in, some leave it out. Some say if you put it back in, it kind of doesn't, it's hard to explain. The exhaust doesn't sound so tinny, if that makes sense. I like it either way. I don't know. I might put it back in, I might not. Depends on how easy it comes out, because I've never actually seen, a few videos I've seen people cut them open, they haven't showed the net. I've never seen the net that holds it. So if I can get it out of there without messing the net up, I might put it back in. But you can see the different chambers here. That's a wall the exhaust feeds into. It just kind of feels the outside of the muffler case. Pretty weird, but it's gonna sound good. So my idea of using a 3-inch band clamp isn't gonna work. It's a 3-inch band and it's a little loose. I think if I had a 2 3/4, because I am looking and the exhaust does neck down about 2 3/4 right off the tip, well, right off the pipe into the muffler. So it makes sense. Everything I've ever seen, I've never seen anybody actually use band clamps. So I figured I would reinvent the wheel here and use a band clamp, but that's not gonna happen. So I'm gonna do what everybody else does. They usually buy a 3-inch pipe, cut it in half, like cut it completely in half, and they just wrap it around, weld one side, and they kind of ship it that way. So I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. So to use a 3-inch pipe, you kind of gotta work it just a little bit. This is when you just cut it in half, because this is what you gotta do. You gotta cut it in half to get it in here. As you can see, up and down play. Doesn't really fit tight. So what I end up having to do is put it in the vise and just squeeze in the pipe ever so slightly. And then I had to take a belt grinder and grind the edges flat. But once you actually squeeze it, it fits it. It fits it tightly. It grabs, it's fitting perfect all the way around. But the problem was, the inner diameter was too big for them both to go on the same way. So, grinding these flat, I use the old Harbor Freight unit there. Ground the edge, you can see how rough these are. I just cut this one in half. And this one, I ground the edges. If I had a tripod, I would set it up and just actually show you, but pretty much the perforated pipe is a 2 3/4, and it's a 3-inch inner diameter pipe. So you can see how much overhang it's got. You just can't wrap both around it at the same time. So you just got to give it just a little squeeze. And that should be all you need. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just making it fit the perforated pipe tight. I just, like this, that's almost perfect. I might squeeze it just a little bit more, just enough to where I can push it on and let go and it not fall. And then we'll grind our edges. So I squeezed it just a little bit more. See, now I had to kind of push it on kind of tight. Now it's fitting tight enough that I can kind of pry on it to get it on a little further. What's happening is it's catching here because I got a little clamp a little too much. That's it. All right, so we got it all welded up. Really, everything I've seen, they don't weld the sides or anything, and I hate to do it and it changed the sound because I love the way it sounds. I think I'm gonna opt in putting this stuff back in there. A lot of times with these Z06 exhausts on the C6s, this being a 3-inch pipe, it's hard to get it over the axles and get it out the right way without dropping some stuff down. So most people cut the pipes, which is what they did here. This is a slip fit connection and it's missing probably
that much pipe. But it's good for our case because I'm gonna end up putting some V-bands on it here and welding V-bands to my X pipe, hopefully, and I'll be able to take them on and off without, you know, fighting slip fit connections because they suck to get back apart. So here's where we're at with it. I got the passenger side mocked up and got it pretty much where it's gonna be. I ordered a set of C6 exhaust hangers, and the C6, they bolted in from the backside, but the frame on the C5 must be just a little bit shorter. So I'll just probably end up take my bumper off and put me some holes and some nut certs to be able to bolt the brackets on from the backside of the frame. That should work out pretty good. Clearance is pretty good up here. It's pretty close to the brake line, but that's just because I need to bring the exhaust pipe over just a little. But one of the big problems I kind of suspected, you know, I don't have a TR6060 with the nice C6 differential, but I do have a diff brace and it doesn't clear the C6 mufflers. So I unhooked these rods and now my pipe pretty much lines up. But with the rod hooked up, it's like touching and way over. I can't even get the pipe close. So what I'm gonna end up having to do is modify, use these two holes here and tie these brackets in to build me a bracket to just tie both of these in and let them pull like that instead of being where they normally go. It's gonna be the best option because I was gonna take and cut the exhaust here and just build it up and run it up and around up there, but that's a lot of work and it still doesn't solve the problem because the exhaust would still be over too far. I needed the exhaust to be pulled over so slightly. So this is gonna be the best course of action. Just build me a bracket and yeah, go from there. So far, this is what I got. I didn't want to leave the slip fit connection. I was gonna cut it back here and then take my new pipe and just splice it in. But the reason I left it is I can put a clamp on it and still have the ability to put what I had on it was the turn downs. If I ever need to take the mufflers off, get rid of them, I can always put these back on and actually have my exhaust face where it used to. But it's turning out pretty good. Everything's fitting really good. I got good clearance. My brake line's a little close, so I'll probably end up making a heat shield or redoing it and going over top of the frame and just kind of get it away from the exhaust altogether. But other than that, everything looks like factory, like it's supposed to be there. Even when I get ready to do these, even when I put my holes here, do nut certs to hold the hangers, I mean, everything's gonna be just about right. So I'm pretty stoked with it so far. Let's get this driver's side knocked out. So got both mufflers mocked up, dead center, everything is lined up perfect where I want it. Everything's tacked in place. I want to get the rear hangers attached and because I got it exactly where I want it. Everything's dead on. But the rear bumper needs to come off for me to be able to drill my holes in the frame. So I think what I'm gonna actually do is kind of do like a strap, kind of a hanger here, pretty much wrap it around and just bolt it bottom to the bottom of the frame. And then in the center, just kind of do like a double setup where I could put a bolt over here and then maybe one in the center and then one over here. And it would hold it just perfectly fine. I do got a new bumper over there I do need to put on it, but I'm waiting on the wide body fenders and stuff before I even remove this bumper, because one of the last events, we had an event with T-Pain at Lanier Raceway, and I got hit by another Corvette because I missed third gear, and yeah. So I'm gonna try to go ahead and make them hangers, and later on, if these work good, I probably wouldn't mess with it, but I'll probably end up doing actual factory, or I can bolt them straight up, kind of like factory, just C6 is on this side, C5's on this side. But mufflers fit really well. Driver's side fits phenomenal. I mean, there's so much clearance. I mean, it's perfect. And now that I have everything tacked up, X pipes level, where it needs to be, we have a good bit of room between the brake line now. So I have no worries. So what I actually did, I took a piece of TIG wire and it's kind of mapped out kind of the shape I wanted. And I got this little thing I got from Northern Tool from years ago. The 4-inch vise, spinning vise, like a metal brake. And I used it to pretty much bend this, get this kind of a rough shape. And I got 2 of the brackets done. Now I gotta do the more complicated one. But what I did is I translated this to a piece of flat stock. And I got this Eastwood. This thing is made for bending pretty big metal. But I used it because the little one would have worked. This has a rounded edge. It's kind of, you see how thick that is. The hanger is kind of more rounded at the bottom, not like real pointy. So that fits the hanger perfect. But I was able to just kind of put it in there, bend it, keep matching it up to my little piece here. And now we have two of the outer brackets ready to go. Just gotta drill some holes and get a nut start put in the frame. Well, we're all done. Everything turned out really good. What I ended up having to do with the actuators, I actually took the nuts loose here. I had to reclock the actuator because the vacuum line was trying to come into the bumper. So now they're facing more towards the muffler and worked out good. The temporary brackets I made turned out really good. You know, they might stay. Got my center one there, got nut certs in with just three bolts total. Worked out good. Nice and solid. But yeah, that is C6 mufflers on a C5. What I ended up having to do with my trans brace, being this is a C5, I took both brackets that bolt up that way, cut them in half, and the hump here on the transmission wouldn't allow this side to go flush to the trans. As you see, I got a spacer in there, but it worked out good because I was able to overlap them and just weld them together. Now they're nice and solid, and they're kind of pulling at an angle, but it's still doing its job. I'll pull them back. I think it's time to crank this thing up and see what it sounds like. Very curious if it sounds the way I hope it does. Happy with it. All right, so mufflers killed about 10 horsepower. Last time we were on a dyno, we made 419. But I did put a new fuel pump in it because we were losing fuel pressure on the dyno last time, and yeah, I'm happy with it. The car's safe, sounds really good. Having a nice sound is worth 10 horsepower in my opinion.